Stray, Cat Simulator, the meow names. I'm not sure which audience this game was aiming for. E-girls, furries, someone like me since I played it? I don't know, but I picked it up and here we are. I've been following games related to this genre of walking simulators for a while, which is a bit of a broad term, but this is what describes these games. It started with a Half-Life mod called Dear Esther and went through games like Firewatch, What Remains of Edith Finch, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. These are a lot of mouthfuls, but there's also the Stanley Parable and finally Death Stranding and Stray, Cat Simulator. So this game begins by tugging at your heartstrings by displaying a bunch of cats cuddling. Pretty cute. Then it gives you a little tutorial ending by the cat that you're playing falling into an underground enclosed cyberpunk city before you find a little drone that is trying to open the city up and remember where he came from. And since this game is a walking simulator, most of what you'll be doing is interacting with NPCs and making your way around little abandoned areas of underground cities to get back to where you came from by solving a bunch of puzzles and finding a bunch of stuff. Cat Simulator. Let's mention what this game does pretty well. The atmosphere and the immersion in this game is top-notch. When it comes to these games that have very few mechanics in place, immersion is very important, and this game manages to achieve that very well, because immersion is what carries these games through because they're mainly story-driven. At a certain point, you'll be thinking and feeling like a cat. You'll be getting thoughts like, how do I annoy this NPC? Or, what place can I fit in today? Or, what piece of silverware can I destroy? Cat Simulator. That is accompanied by very smooth movement mechanics like jumping and running around like a little kitten around sewers or air ventilation systems. Not much sneaking around, but most NPCs don't have that much of an awareness of cats as creatures to begin with due to it being a post-apocalyptic era and all. Of course, the music changes depending on where you are, or what section you're in, or what event is taking place, and it is very thematic. The most memorable part for me is the disco party, where you had to mess with the DJ's equipment to build a bridge for you to get to the next section, which had a pretty amazing soundtrack and very fitting with the rest of the game. Cat Simulator. I don't think I've seen any other form of media that displays cyberpunk in such a cutesy way. The game takes a bit of time to show you how pretty some scenes are by putting you in little cat-related interactions like fitting inside a moving box or laying on a rooftop or curling up inside a drawer in a library, and it slowly pans the camera out and shows you the details of what the world used to be like and how it transitioned to its current state. Top-notch cinematography there. It also manages to connect you with the important characters in the story, and even though they are robots, there's definitely a personality for some of them, and it is portrayed quite well.
What are you doing in my swamp?
There are a lot of moments in this game that are truly heartfelt and makes you feel camaraderie and sacrifice throughout the game. It states a strong point on how AI that has passed the Turing test has developed to become more humane than the humans that created them. They have agendas, purpose, communities, relationships, and they are capable of greed, anger, love, and compassion. Same as the cat you're playing as, which takes you on a journey to reconnect with its friends while navigating a world that shows it no mercy. Now, there's a bit of combat in this game. Well, combat is a bit of an overstretch, but the game at some point helps you take an item that helps you defeat the main antagonist of this game, which is a rat-like creature called Zerks. Cat Simulator. They are the reason why the androids don't venture out beyond their little towns, and it's why some of the androids you meet are unable to reconnect with their loved ones or achieve technical advancement, which is also hinted to be the reason why humans don't exist anymore. So you basically get a little piece of equipment that turns your flashlight into an ultraviolet emitter, which used to kill these rat-like creatures with a little cooldown that serves as a purpose in the story progression, but this is where the con starts. This game is a 6 out of 10. So that gun that I just talked about is practically useless since it has a 5-second cooldown for a 2-second long firing duration. Calling it a gun is a bit of an overstretch as well. It's literally a flashlight. Then the game takes it away from you once that section of the story has ended for a reason that is a bit underwhelming, but to give credit where credit is due, it uses this moment to build up for the ending. It also takes away the use of the meow button. At the beginning of the game, the meow button's use, aside from just making cute cat noises, it gave you the ability to remotely interact with the world. When you meow, the world gives you a little visual cue on where you need to go, but after a certain point that gets completely swept under the rug. No pun intended. Now, it is quite obvious that the developers cut a lot of corners in this game due to budget limitations. The greatest example of this is how the movement mechanics aren't exactly free. You have to aim at a place you'd like to jump to, then press the jump button, which leads me to talk about how scripted this game actually is. Now, I don't want to take much from this game for how linear it is, but it gives you a lot of freedom in certain areas that end up being a chore of walking around a village and trying to find secrets for a purpose that does not serve the story whatsoever, which kills the pacing of the game at some points. And it also leads me to believe that this game would have probably ended up benefiting so much more from being a lot more linear than it actually is. And at the end, that shows how limited the movement of the cat is, because if it wasn't, you'd be able to freely traverse these areas with a lot more ease, and it would keep up with the speedy pacing of your cat's movement and natural agility. The game also spends a lot of time on your companion drone, collecting memories of its past and leading it to its origins and its purpose, but that drone isn't the most developed character in the game, even though on paper it has the most interesting backstory, but they didn't seem to flesh it out enough to show how it really feels to be in such a state. Of course, the worst thing about this game, and the reason why a lot of characters and situations don't have that much of an impact, is because of by far the biggest budget cut in this game, which is the fact that the game has 0 voice lines and they're all replaced by dialogue lines with little beep boop robotic noises. So a cat can't talk, let alone understand language of humans or androids, which I guess makes sense that everything is getting translated by a drone, but how does the drone talk with the cat? It's not explained. Might as well have given everyone voice lines, right? It would have certainly made the story much more impactful than it is, and it definitely needed it. The game didn't have that many technical issues, but I've had a few bugs where the cat gets stuck while jumping from one place to another, or collides with an object and gets stuck inside the object, but it wasn't that much of a nuisance. At least not as much as having to backtrack for a long time to be able to solve the puzzles. Puzzles in this game aren't too difficult. They're basically finding an item or a piece of paper, but it kills the pacing by having you run around multiple points that are far away from each other. Ultimately, this is a new kind of treat in gaming. It falls under the category of walking sims because of how limited it is, but it seems a bit confused on what it's set out to do. There are parts that are clearly made to be linear storytelling sections, but it doesn't provide the same impact as other games in its genre. And while managing to be immersive and visually stunning, I don't think that people will remember this game a few months from now. At least until another game is released that takes the attention, but until then, do the YouTube thing, you know? Share, subscribe, you know, all that YouTube spiel stuff. Yeah? I don't know. I'll see you later, I guess.